how a woman will basically create rules around how she wants to deal with you and interact with you, and how she very quickly broke them. In the book, I talk about how women make rules for men that they deem to be betas, but they break rules for men that they deem to be alpha. And in that very brief story that I told, which also kind of ties into genuine burning desire and why that matters in a relationship, she very quickly went from setting rules to wanting to break them, and essentially wanted to take me to the bathroom for immediate intimacy. So she starts telling me about how she sets these rules for guys. I'm like, okay, here we go. I set rules around, when intimacy is going to happen and at what point. And then she starts telling me about the 8-date rule. And I talked about this in my book. And when women make rules for guys, they're basically shit testing you. It's basically a test to see what you're made of. They want to see what category you fit in. Is he an alpha? Is he a beta? Like, in what quadrant is this guy in my mind, so that I know how to deal with him, on a future basis. And I just laughed. I was just like, I'm taking a sip of my beer. I almost spit it out. I'm like, here we go, the 8-date rule or some version of that. I'm like, I don't negotiate desire. Okay, now at that point, I had come to the realization that negotiating desire never works. It only leads to obligated compliance and resentment down the road. You don't want negotiated sort of type of relationships. You don't want to be like, oh, okay, if I do this, then I'll do that. You want genuine burning desire. I talk about it in an entire chapter in my book. It's the best way to navigate when it comes to women. It's very obvious when women have genuine burning desire. It's not something that you got to figure out, or it's like, oh, I don't know if she has it, or how do I figure this out, or don't do. It's like taking a frying pan to the forehead. When a chick has genuine burning desire for you, she doesn't make rules for you. There's no 8-date rule on when intimacy is going to happen. There's no, I don't do anything until at this point in time, or until you take me out for a certain number of dinners, or whatever. Like, none of that exists. Women will break rules for men that they deem alpha, and they'll make rules for guys that they deem to be beta. They want to sort of test them and put them in a category, and then, size them up from that point on. So, she states the 8-date rule, blah, 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 blah. I just laugh. I'm like, I don't negotiate desire. I certainly don't negotiate when intimacy is going to happen. It has to be organic. As soon as you start putting rules and boundaries on when things like this happen, you're running into all kinds of problems, right? A guy that is worth his salt, a guy that knows his worth, isn't going to sit there and like count down on the dates and be like, okay, well, we're date number 7, so next date is when the intimacy happens, so let's get a overnight bag ready and all this dope. Like, this is what, she's hoping nerds will do, and this is what, the uninitiated plugged in guys will do. They'll be like, oh, well, she must be a good girl if she's going to make me wait 8 dates. She's the kind of girl that I want to take seriously. I maybe want to have a long-term relationship with her. It's a bit of a play, guys. All women have skeletons in the closet. Some women have graveyards. I can't remember what her age was. I want to put it at like late 20s, early 30s, but she was probably about 10 years younger than what I was at the time when I was dating, but younger than me, but old enough that she would have obviously had some experience in life dating, or had some notches, but young enough that she wasn't like, that old, 40, 50 or whatever. So I'm just like, spit out my drink practically. I'm like, okay, here we go. She's trying to pull the purity card. Like, I'm innocent and I'm pure and I'm valuable, and make a guy wait. Because that's what women do. It's like, they'll spend their 20s partying away, riding the carousel, Ibiza, Cancun, foam cannon parties, the couple of cute Italian guys when they're traveling Europe, that same, like all of that stuff, right? They'll go and rack up all these notches, and they'll start to sell you the story of purity, like, I want to wait, or I'm a good girl, and a good guy will wait for me to give me what I want, sort of thing. So again, I just explained to her, you try not to explain shit to women because it doesn't really work out real well, but I just state to her, like, look, I don't negotiate desire. I'm certainly not going to negotiate when intimacy happens. It's got to be organic. I don't play these games. That's just not me. Now, she didn't like that at first. She paused, she looked at me, she kind of had a stunned look. It's almost like a deer in the headlight sort of thing. Like, oh, somebody's actually pushing back and has an opinion that's different from mine and doesn't roll with it. Yeah, that's who I am. Right then and there, she took me out of the plugged in beta category and was like, oh, this guy's not that, so he's that. Again, all women have skeletons in their closets. Some women have graveyards. Now, what she said next will shock you. She said, okay, let's go to the bathroom and bang right now. Now, remember, 2 seconds earlier, she's telling me the story of purity. I'm a good girl. I want to wait. I make 8 dates, happen. I don't just sleep around, blah, 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 blah. Like, she's complaining about her bad experience dating. And she goes from, I have a bad experience, so I have rules, to I'm not going to do all these things, to immediately, let's go to the bathroom and smash. Women will make rules for guys that they think are betas, and they'll break them for guys that they think are alpha males. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the funny part to the story. Obviously, I didn't see her again. You know, we spent maybe an hour, had a drink or two, chuckled. It was one of the few times in my life that I've ever resisted or not accepted a strong sexual advance from a woman. I mean, generally it doesn't happen that much, if we're being honest, you know, as we're guys, but when it does happen, you generally take them up on it. In this case, I didn't. Again, she wasn't my type, too tall, a little bit heavier than what I was expected. She had a nice figure, like nice curves, like kind of like a Coke bottle. But again, you know, like I kind of decided at the start of the date, it just wasn't for me. I just wasn't that interested, which is probably one of the things that got her more strongly interested in me. Like the indifference that you show to women is beneficial to you. So went from that to I'll pass, I'm good, to, you know, we wrap up the date, part ways, and that was it. I didn't talk to her after that. It was more of a ghosting, like, you know, whatever. First date, you don't owe them an explanation. Like, I just don't see a fit. You've got, you know, you play games and rules and stuff. I just don't bother, right? It's like, if you've been dating for a while, then, you know, it's a good idea, just out of karma and kindness, to say something like, I don't see this going anywhere, so good luck. But I get this random text probably 3.5 months later from a number that I don't recognize. Again, I wasn't interested in her long term, so I didn't save her number. Generally speaking, if I'm interested in a chick, her number gets saved, first name, and then whatever she does for a living. It's like, you know, Carol runs a daycare, you know, Becky, accountant, Jennifer, teacher, whatever, you know. So you just have like a simple way of acknowledging who somebody messages you. I didn't do that. I didn't save her number, so I get a number that pops up with this story, and it's her. And the story is something along the lines of, what did she say? She said something like, I just want to thank you so much. You know, that date that we had was so impactful, and the advice that you gave was the best thing ever. I found the love of my life. Everything's fantastic. You know, the rules and all that stuff, you're right. I shouldn't have been, like, she's basically like, dude, Rich, you were all right about everything. I found exactly what I was looking for because I listened to you and I didn't play these stupid games. Thank you so much. Praise, praise, praise. And I'm like, who is this? I kind of knew who it was, but I was like, who is this? And she's like, whatever her name was from a few months ago. I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, congratulations. Good for you. I'm happy you're happy, sort of thing. And then, you know, I move on. So I wanted to share this story because it's like, I've got lots of stories like this. I mean, if you guys want to hear more, I can dig some up from the archive, but women will play these games with you. They will try to set rules. They will break them for the right guy. When they have genuine desire, they will respond in a very strong and positive way to you. There's ways to sort of like extract that, to sort of manufacture that from the dating environment. One of the ways that I did it, you know, like I said earlier, is take a gal to a place where there's really attractive women serving you. They're kind, they're flirtatious. They probably know you because you've been there before. I mean, if you're a guy that dates, they probably see you with other women, so whatever. But it's always good for the setup to have a good experience. Now, had she been a gal that I would have been genuinely interested in, I would have obviously wanted to see her again and pursue it. So all those things that sort of stacked up to it are always going to be to my advantage. So I guess what I'm saying here is date, play the game. Even if she shows up and she catfishes you, like, it's not a total fraud. Like, if she showed up like 300 pounds heavier, I would have been like, look, this is going to be a total waste of my time. I'm really not interested in this type of thing here, so I'm just going to pass, and I would have just left. And I've done that before, where I've been severely catfished, but this wasn't severe. She's like 30 pounds heavier and just taller, so it just wasn't my thing. But you know, the banter before and everything was fine, and you know, she had Coke bottle figure, so I was like, whatever, I'll just entertain it. Maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'll get some material out of it. That's what I'm saying, guys. Get out there, learn, adapt, respond. Learn what the game is. If you want to play the game and you want to get good results playing a game, you got to practice playing the game. That's basically what I'm saying. Get out there and practice playing the game and deal with these situations where it's like, hey, you show up and it's not ideal, but you're there anyway. You don't have any other plans. You might as well roll with it.
All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here, where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel? Hit subscribe.